Welcome to World Religions Online. In this video, we'll be talking about some of the expectations for the course, some of the assignments that will be required, and some other preliminary matters. I would encourage you to take the time to look through the syllabus. It goes into more detail than what we will here. Additionally, take a look around the Blackboard site for various information regarding other things related to assignments and course expectations. When it comes to talking about world religions, there are some things that we want to preface our discussion today, or our brief overview today, in thinking about what is this course? What is it we're going to be doing? Well, over the next several weeks, we'll be looking at world religions, and particularly looking at the histories, the development, the origins of these religions, as well as discussing their beliefs and practices. We'll get into other things somewhat related to those. We won't obviously be able to talk about everything in every world religion. There are probably some others that we could talk about. We're looking predominantly at the major world religions, as well as a handful of other religions that I think are important for us to pay attention to because of the contemporary situation in the United States, or just some general world religions that a lot of people are interested in. So we'll be discussing the major ones, not all of them. And certainly in a course like this, we'll not be able to look at everything related to each of these religions. Yes, it is more heavily weighted towards Western religions rather than Eastern religions, but I do think that we're doing a good job having a relatively comprehensive overview of these different religious systems. Additionally, we'll spend some time both as we talk about individual religions, as well as when we talk about some topical situations towards the end of the semester about the relationship between religion and society, thinking about not only the impact religion has on society, but also at times thinking about some of the impact society has on religion, especially in the 21st century. We can't escape the idea of how embedded religion is in individual societies, and that has significant impact both on religion and on the society. And so we'll talk again briefly. We don't have the time to talk about it too much, but we'll look at that as a part of both the individual religions and in the topical section toward the end of the course. Given that this is a course taught at a Christian university, it would be no surprise that we'll spend some time thinking about how Christians might engage people from these religions. Certainly some of that has to do with evangelism. As a Christian, I believe Jesus is the Son of God. I believe that there is truth in Christianity that the world needs to hear. And so there's that aspect. I'm sure many of you believe that as well. So certainly we want to think about how to share the good news of Christianity with others from other religions. But also, I think that even though we might not engage always in evangelistic opportunities, we certainly need to be aware of places where we can engage in interfaith dialogue. Where are some ways that we can connect with our neighbors of different faiths, our coworkers of different faiths? What are some ways that Christians might be able to cooperate in social opportunities, in community initiatives, those kind of things? And what do we do when we think about interacting with other people, so we can understand the humanity, understand some of the basic beliefs that people have? And so there's that component to this course as well, which would be different than perhaps if you had taken this course at a state university. Each syllabus, of course, has a section in them about course objectives. What is it that you're going to be expected to achieve in this course. And so at the end of this course, what is the knowledge, what are the skills that I'm expecting you to have? Well, this list briefly talks about those. So by the end of the semester, I hope that you're able to talk about who are some key people in various world religions, what are some important beliefs and practices. Again, we're not going to be able to talk about all the things that we could possibly talk about with respect to world religions. But I think that there are some important elements that we'll highlight across these, and I expect you to know them. It's an important part of what it means to understand these religions. And sometimes, depending on the religion, you might end up knowing more than a particular individual in that religion about some of these things. Simply because sometimes people, it's not a very important part of their life as a Muslim, as a Jew, etc. That doesn't mean that you know more about their religion than they do, in a sense, but just that you know more about these components of the religion. And so we say, okay, well, why study them if they're not important to the people that practice them today? I think it's important that as outsiders, we want to get a holistic picture of this, and not necessarily just what is important today to a particular individual practitioner, when there are perhaps some things that are larger that an individual practitioner doesn't necessarily realize. And that's probably true about our personal faiths as well. In addition to knowing the components of the individual major world traditions that we'll look at, we'll also be talking about some basic elements of religion, things like what ritual is, and ethics, and text. We'll talk about this so we have a common vocabulary to think about how religious traditions work. And so being able to talk comparatively about ethics, about scriptures, about symbols, are important for us, and we're thinking about talking about these different traditions. As mentioned previously, talking about that relationship between religion and other facets of human society. How do these things interact, especially in the 21st century? Being able to talk about methods and approaches, places of contact, where there's some similarity, where there's some differences, how a Christian might engage somebody of a different faith. And so you should be able to talk about that as well. There is essentially one textbook for this class, Winfried Corduan's Neighboring Faiths, A Christian Introduction to World Religions, particularly the second edition. You should get this textbook as soon as possible if you don't have it already. There are assignments from the textbook that are due fairly soon in the course, and so you want to have that as soon as possible. If for some reason there will be a delay in you getting the textbook, get in contact with me immediately so that we can make arrangements so that you can complete those assignments. But you need to get a hold of that textbook as soon as possible. We just talked about the objectives, and it would be nice at the end of the semester if I could just say, can you do all of those things that were on that previous slide or that were in the syllabus? And you say yes, and I give you an A. That's not good grading practices, though. So there are going to be some assignments that are required, that need to be completed in order for you to demonstrate you have that knowledge and you have that skill. We'll talk more about each of these here in a minute, and they're also described on the syllabus and in Blackboard. There will be some reading quizzes, there will be some discussion posts, there will be some exams, and there will be some reflective essays. Let's talk about each of these just briefly. Reading quizzes. There will be reading quizzes for every week that there is reading. In most weeks there will be some reading. There might be one or two weeks that don't have a reading assignment, and there won't be a reading quiz that week. So in most cases, one thing you'll do every week is take a reading quiz. The information is on Blackboard regarding what's the reading, and what chapters or what particular pages are covered. The quiz will be 5 multiple choice questions based on the reading, and you will have 10 minutes to take the quiz. If you have done the reading, 10 minutes is plenty of time for you to take the quiz. This is it's not intended to be an open book quiz, so just focus on the reading. There will be a key things to know document on Blackboard that will help you pay attention to what things that you really need to know as you prepare for the quiz. I will usually drop the 3 lowest quizzes, and so you do have some that if you forget to do one, or if you do poorly on one, it's not going to impact your grade. So I dropped the 3 lowest reading quizzes. You will also need to do discussion posts each week. While some weeks it might only be 2, in most weeks you'll have 4 discussion posts that you need to do. Those discussion posts can be in response to my questions, or to comments made by other students, or just something you found interesting in the particular reading. I do have 4 questions each week, so that if you just want to do 4 of my questions, that's fine. So however you mix and match that up to do 4 posts. Each post should be something substantial, so I would say at least 100 words, at least 75 words or more. So it should be something more than "I agree" in response to another student. Something that significantly addresses what they've said and maybe moves the discussion along. So I'm looking for something substantive. Again, it could be a response to my question, could be a response to other students, or just something you found interesting. And most weeks you'll have to do at least 4 of those every week. There will also be 4 exams in the course, 3 throughout the semester, and then the final exam. The final exam will be comprehensive. Now, the comprehensive part, each of the previous exams will only be on the specific unit, so whatever since the previous exam. The final exam, the comprehensive part, will predominantly be broad ideas, not as much detail-oriented as the other exams. There'll be a section that's detail-oriented because it'll cover material since the 3rd exam, but the comprehensive part will be more broad ideas, and we'll have a review session to kind of give you some ideas of what you need to know. Each of the exams will have multiple choice questions, short answer questions, and at least 1 essay. The final exam will be longer, but it'll follow that format. The material will be drawn from the textbooks, from the lecture material, from discussions perhaps. So all of those components are important for the material for the exam. Study guides will be provided, usually a week or so in advance, so you know what material to focus on. And that will be true for the final exam as well. At any point, of course, if you have questions about the exams, feel free to contact me. More will be said as we get closer to the time. You will also need to write some reflective essays. These reflective essays will be focused on primary source readings from different religious traditions. So we'll have a reading from Judaism, a reading from Islam, there's a reading from Mormonism. And so these primary source readings, these selections, the links to them are on Blackboard. You should complete 4 of them, but you have the opportunity for 5. Now, a couple of things. That means you can choose which 4 you want to complete. If there's 4 that really interest you, pick those 4. If you don't want to do the first one and want to do the last 4, that's fine. You want to do the first 4 and not do the last one, that's fine as well. So whichever 4 you want to do. If you complete all 5, it says 6, but it should say 5. If you complete all 5 of the essays, I'll take the top 4 scores and give you 20 extra points. The essays should be about 700, should be at least 750 words, which works out to be 2 to 3 pages. Each essay should have 3 parts: a summary of the text, your agreement or disagreement with the main point of the text, and then how the text might help in a religious dialogue. Is there a way that you can engage this text, or a Christian could find some talking points with a Jew, or some way to talk with a Muslim or a Mormon through this text in this way? So you need to do 4. You have the opportunity for 5. If you do all 5, I take the top 4 and then give you some bonus points. Here's the grading breakdown. I try to do most of my classes out of 1,000 points, and I do that for a couple of reasons. First, no one particular assignment is going to damage your grade if you do poorly on it. So if you don't do well on the first exam, that's not going to wreck your grade. But if you don't do the reading quizzes, you're not doing all the reflective essays, you're not doing discussion posts, these kind of things build up. And so cumulatively, it can cause a problem. But no one poor grade is going to necessarily damage your ability to do well in the course. The other thing that doing it as 1,000 points helps is that you're always able to kind of figure out where you are. So you say, all right, I have this many points and I want to get, let's say, I want to get an A in the course. So I have these many points. I need to get to at least 900. What do I need to do to get at least a 900 in this course? And so at least 900 or more points in A, 800 a B, 700 for at least a C, etc. And so it's just addition and subtraction. There's not as much emphasis on percentages and those kind of things. We talked about discussion boards. That's one way to participate in the course. But another aspect, it's referred to as engagement in the syllabus. It's also a part of the grade that I haven't talked about yet, and that's submitting student notes. With an online course like this, where you're not required to be online at a certain time, participation and what we call attendance is different. I can, see you in a face-to-face class, right? I see you're in the seat in the room. Well, in order for me to know that you're engaging the material in an online class like this, I need to see that you are engaging the video lectures, especially. Yes, I want you reading the textbook and taking the quizzes, but each week you will also be responsible, you'll also be required to submit notes from the video lectures for each week. Now that's notes from the videos. Each week there'll be a playlist in the course content folders, and there'll be videos much like this covering the material we're looking at. You will need to take notes on those, not the textbook, not discussions, not anything else, the video lectures, and they have to be more than just the PowerPoint bullets. This will demonstrate to me that you have watched and engaged the material that we're looking at for this semester. And it'll also be a really good source for you to study and prepare for the exams. So you don't have to go back and rewatch videos and reread the textbook and all those kind of things, because you've already digested it some by recording your notes. So make sure each week you submit notes on the video lectures. You can type them up if that's easier for you. If it's easier for you to handwrite them as you're watching the videos, listening to the videos, that's fine too. You can just take a picture, or you can scan it. You can submit it through Blackboard. You can submit it by email. But your notes need to cover all of the videos for a specific week's playlist. All right, so it should demonstrate to me, I should say, that you've engaged all the material we've covered. Much like I could see in a face-to-face class. Okay, you were present for this lecture. Well, this is a way to kind of demonstrate that you're present for this lecture. Regarding makeup work, each week you have an entire week to complete the work, and you're not constrained of I have to be in class and do this at this time. You have the entire week, and so in that case, there's not going to be that much opportunity for makeup work. However, if there is a specific situation I need to know about, if something comes up, I have jury duty this week, or I'm going on a mission trip, as soon as possible, contact me. Let me know what's going on. Let's talk about some ways to work around the situation. But it's much better to talk to me beforehand. And that way we can figure out something to do rather than waiting till the end of the semester and say, oh, I had jury duty that week. Well, okay, it's too late at this point for you to go back and finish that work. So very rarely is there opportunity for makeup work unless you contact me and we can work something out. But again, if something comes up, the sooner the better you can contact me. It's very important for us to do that. If I return some graded work to you and you have a dispute about the particular grade or a question about the particular grade, please get in contact with me about that. If it is a disputed situation where you think the grade should actually be higher, let's say I turn back an essay to you and say, you should have talked about this particular idea. And you say, you're looking at it, you say, I did talk about that on page 2, right? Get in contact with me. Say, I think you noted that I should have talked about this. I believe I talked about it on page 2. Could you look this over again? I am human. I make mistakes. I am more than willing to absolutely look over material I've graded if you believe and you're able to say, right, I think that this was a mistake. So bring that to my attention. University policy, though, is within 3 days. So as soon as it gets backdated, take a look at it and get back to me about it if there is an issue. But like I said, please feel free to do that if you have questions. For this course, you don't need to use any outside sources, right? The textbook, the primary source readings, and the lectures and your brain are all the materials you need for this course. There are no research papers, there's not outside research. So anything you turn in, you don't need to use anything outside. You just need to use those things that I've mentioned. All work that you submit then should be your original work. If for some reason, writing a reflection essay, for example, you use some sort of outside source, you need to make sure that you give credit to that source. Right? If you include a thought or include some sentences from somebody else, you need to give them credit. You cannot submit that work as your own. Because if you do, that's plagiarism. That's an academic violation. It will end up with either a 0 on the assignment. There might be additional academic consequences. So all work you submit needs to be your own work. If you're not sure about how to give someone credit, how to cite something, get in contact with me. Let me know what I can do to help you out. It's not needed. There's no need in this course to do that. But if you do decide to do that, please get in contact with me if you have any questions. I don't want to have a conversation with you about you getting a 0 on an assignment because you've plagiarized someone else's work. So please do whatever it takes to keep your integrity and make sure all work is submitted as your own or gives people appropriate credit. If you need any sort of academic accommodations because of a documented learning disability, please contact Nicole Fussell or others at the Center for Disability Services as soon as possible. They will work with you in your particular situation to determine what accommodations are best helpful. We want to make sure you get on the road to success early. Contact information is in the syllabus or on Blackboard. It is also available in other formats if needed. You probably already know to do this if this is something that applies to you, but please make sure to do that as soon as possible so we can get those accommodations in place. I am available in my office on Monday through Thursdays, 1:30 to 2:45. If you're in the Montgomery area and want to stop by then, that's perfectly fine. Or if you're outside the Montgomery area and would like to talk on the phone, my number is in the syllabus. My work number is in the syllabus. You can contact me during then as well. If you need another time because of a work situation or some other situation, by all means, get in contact with me. Let me know what other times work. We can see what we can work out. Certainly, if it's a situation that can be handled by email, that is certainly a possibility as well. I try to get back with people, get back with students within 24 hours. If you haven't heard from me after 48 hours, feel free to email me again. If it's a holiday or a weekend, it might be a little bit longer, but certainly if you have waited a day or two and you haven't heard back from me, get in contact with me again about that. As I mentioned before, please look over the syllabus, get in contact with me about any questions, either by email. There is also a section in the discussion boards where you can contact me about different things as well. I'm looking forward to a great semester. I'm looking forward to interacting with you, and certainly let me know what I can do to help you succeed in this course.